How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Tear Talk. Guys, I want to do another video on the Madison Fields case. It's a case that I believe deserves more attention than it's getting. I know right now a lot of attention's on Nancy Guthrie, rightfully so, but there are some other cases that I feel are worth visiting, or in this case, revisiting. This case to me, it's got a lot of similarities to the Haley Busby case. If you guys are not familiar with either one of these cases, I would recommend you watch our other videos on these cases. I've already done 2 videos on Haley Busby. Sadly, the end of that case really just was horrific. But right now, our focus is on Madison Fields. She's a missing 16-year-old girl from Ohio. Basically walks out of a long-stay motel just after 4 in the afternoon and simply disappears. Again, her name is Madison Fields. She's a Coleraine High School sophomore living with her family at the In-Town Suites on Coleraine Avenue while they try to get back on their feet. Her family, she's living with her father and mother. She tells her dad she's heading to a friend's house, but surveillance camera shows her taking a completely different route down Coleraine and onto a side street called Harry Lee. And then she's gone. Very quickly, her phone goes dead. No calls, no location, nothing. And her younger sister reveals the details that changes the whole case. Madison had been talking to someone on a privacy-focused app called Session. The person calls himself Josh, claimed online to be around 18. And nobody in the family or at her school knows who he is in real life. So tonight I thought me and Russ could talk or walk through how Madison vanished. A little bit about this online connection, what this tells us about technology outrunning our alert systems, and what every parent needs to understand about apps like Session and the very predators that use them. Russ, this is very similar to the Haley Busby case because I see you got those private apps after they play these, these predators get into these games like Roblox, or in Haley Busby's case, it was League of Legends. And then they're able to get Haley was 17, but they get them into these private apps like Snap or Sessions where they're built on secrecy, and we lose them. What do you got? Familiarity through the game. Then you got isolation and trust. It's a predator game now, but it's advanced now because of technology. It's just scary, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a conduit to evil, in my estimation. I think that those type of apps, they just have so much of a downside and not so much of an upside, as it were.
Yeah, and Russ, I'm going to show you Sessions. Let me just play the video of Madison Field. I have 2 videos I want to show you. Total of both videos will be about 5 minutes. The second video is a newer video that I didn't play in my first video that I did, and it's actually the surveillance footage of her leaving from that long stay motel that she was staying with her family. Okay, let me get this first one in. But wait till you see, Russ, when I show you this Sessions. It's going to blow your mind, and there's no way a family is going to be able to understand this technology, let alone try to work in a way to outmaneuver it. Hold on, I got this is a commercial. Give me a second. Here we go.
That's why we're all kind of like bamboozled. This is just not Madison at all.
If you see her, contact the police immediately because they're going to get her and bring her back to you.
Right now, Coleraine police, they're actively searching for a 16-year-old girl who's been missing for 5 days.
Yeah, family and friends are desperate for answers, putting together a search party tonight in hopes of finding her.
Allie Hennard has more details for us.
Yeah, that's right. 16-year-old Madison Fields has been missing since Friday. Her parents tell me they filed an official missing persons report on Monday, and now dozens gathering here tonight to search for her near the last place she was seen on Harry Lee Lane here in Coleraine Township. Now they're asking for the public's help in bringing her home.
I'm Dad. I know the kid. As I said, she texts me every day. She's a very good kid. Something's wrong.
16-year-old Madison Fields hasn't been seen or heard from since Friday, February 13th.
I was under the impression she was at her friend Lily's house, but she didn't go that way. So that's when we first found out like something was wrong, and then we got a hold of the police.
Maddie's father, Tyler Hearn, says just after 4 p.m. on Friday, Maddie was seen on surveillance leaving the in-town suites on Coleraine Avenue, where her family is staying at the time, walking along Coleraine Avenue, then west on Harry Lee Lane.
And her phone has been dead since Friday.
Maddie is 125 pounds with brown hair and green eyes.
We need to find my daughter. Anything we can do, we can put her picture out there. She's a very good kid. A lot of people know her. We just need to find my daughter.
Hearn says no one has been able to get a hold of her, and her phone's location, which he's always able to track, is off. According to family members, Maddie had been communicating on an app with someone who calls himself Josh.
So the app is called Session. I believe it's an app where anything you write is deleted immediately. Apparently, from what I hear from her younger sister, she was writing on that app and went to left and meet a boy named Josh.
None of her friends, nobody at Coleraine High School, nobody knows any Josh. We've all thought every possibility, wherever she's at, whatever's going on. None of us think it's because she wants to be in the position she's in right now. We think something has happened.
Yeah, Madison's parents also ask any nearby businesses or homes to check your surveillance cameras and see if there are any signs of Madison over the last 5 days. They say no information is too small in the search for their daughter. If you have any information, contact Coleraine Police Department, or you can contact the family directly either on social media, texting, or calling. They will be out here on Wednesday afternoon searching for her. For now.
All right, Russ, let me show you one more with the surveillance video. I just want to also mention the mom. Her mom messaged me on Facebook, on YouTube, on a YouTube comment. And this is what she said. She goes, I'm her mom. I'm going crazy right now. Madison Fields, they turned her case into a missing person, into an endangered missing case, and they took all her electronics and her sister's phone and iPad to get a warrant to go through her phones and everything. We're just praying this, waiting for, and they believe that they're losing the battle right now. You could see literally, Russ, in the mom's message here, how I'm going to combine these two words, but frustratingly sad. Does that make sense here?
Yeah, I think that not just that, but just a sense of desperation. So, like I said, this is a conduit of evil to a world that someone of her age is just not ready to deal with or understand, for that matter. If she'd understood, the potential danger with regards to not necessarily knowing that she's, talking to a 16-year-old boy, and that person is likely much older than that. We don't have anything other than that to go on at this point.
Yeah, remember the Haley Busby, he was 39, just playing these freaking games in an effort. So here's how I think it works. Oh, let me show you the second video first. Let's just get this video. Let me show you this. This shows you her last known sighting. Hold on. Let me play this.
New security footage tonight that shows the moments leading up to the disappearance of a 16-year-old girl in Coleraine Township.
Yeah, the family of Madison Fields says that this video shows her on a security camera last Friday, the night that she was last seen. And tonight they held a search party in that very same area. WLWT News 5's Sean McKinnon was there. Sean.
Mike Sheree, Madison's family is worried. They say she's never run away in the past, but she could be talking with a stranger on a messaging app. They brought those concerns to police, but have been working nonstop all this week to spread the word themselves.
Please help us, whoever's out there. Maddie, if you're watching, Mama loves you, and I promise you we're going to find you.
Family and friends of Coleraine High School sophomore Madison Fields going door to door, hoping neighbors on Harry Lee Lane have seen her.
There are people here I don't know. They just seen it and they showed up to come to support. It's amazing.
The owner of a liquor store nearby showed a security camera video from last Friday at 4, the day Madison went missing. Her family says she's seen walking away from the hotel they're living in, Nike backpack on, carrying a grocery bag.
Just seeing her just walk away and disappear just put some kind of fear in me.
We talked with neighbors living right around the corner from the store. One woman says she saw Madison on Friday, who took a different turn from her normal walking route.
This time it was totally different. She went down the driveway. Didn't see her again after that.
Her father, Tyler Hearn, says Madison told her sister she was going to meet an 18-year-old she connected with on an anonymous encrypted messaging app called Session. Madison's father says he's gotten no sleep as his search continues.
Can't stop crying. My head hurts. I'm just broken.
Now, apparently, we have a detective that's lead on this case.
Hearn says he's handed over Madison's old phones to police, doing everything they can to get her home.
But the cops are doing actually everything they can possibly do. It's a process. They said what you need to do is get the news involved, and we have now. We'll find her. I know we will.
Since we've connected with the family this week, we've continued to reach out to Coleraine Police. We asked when they will get a warrant to ping Madison's phone. They'll only respond by saying it's an open investigation. Reporting live in Coleraine Township, Sean McKinney.
That's crazy. So, Russ, so the thing is, I think now with technology, the games for predators have changed a little bit. You know, they no longer need to go to a park and abduct a child. They can actually have the child go directly to them. That's the scary thing. And then the other loophole with that is the Amber Alerts have not been built for that evolution. That's why Bo Busby is trying to work on making changes to respect that there's an evolution here that's not covered in that older law, the Amber Law. Because I mean, you know, if you think about this, Russ, they build familiarity with these kids by going into gameplay. So they interact with them under the guise that they're playing a game. And then eventually they're able to build some trust. And then they isolate the kid into these private chats. And it's no longer about the gaming. It's more about our interaction on the private chats. And then now these private chats are built on apps that are just, man, they are built on secrecy. Their upgrades are how to operate in better secrecy. So even if a parent was to catch it, another update will come up, and then it just makes it harder. I watched a video on Sessions and how this app works, and this app is meant not to be discovered. It's meant to be secretive. It's a predator's gold mine.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's something to be said for privacy apps, but I think that when you look at the totality of what's going on out there, I know that at least like with the Android systems, those things are more detectable and more reportable and have a more robust way to report the fact that that app has been downloaded than, say, in your Apple phones. At least from what I understand, when I was trying to get into this case and trying to understand it, Apple tends to sandbox everything so that, it cuts anyone off from being able to know what's going on there, for whatever that's worth. And just going back to something I mentioned earlier, there was at least one report that came through that supposedly the age of this individual that contacted her was not 18, but rather 16. And I think that goes to show that perhaps, and this is kind of speculation on my part, that individual, whoever it was, if they weren't 16, was trying to put her into more frame of a mind of this is okay, because I am only 16. And there's no way for someone her age to understand or even, realize that this might be a play on the ages in order for her to let her guard down. Now, I want to say that on the video we saw, it certainly seemed as if, she was prepared for this. Her backpack looked like it was heavy and packed, as if she was going somewhere for quite a while. And I hope that the case or the facts in this case eventually turn out that, she is just a runaway, but with absolutely no one reporting her and without, anything else to go on. It certainly seems like this very well could be foul play.
Yeah, and I love what you said about the age thing. Now, granted, your point is taken on that. I hope people that are watching that heard exactly what he said. Now, in this case here, the younger sister did come to line, and the media reported it wrong the first time. She said it was a guy named Josh who said he was 18, but because I originally reported as 16 as well. But what Russ said is on point. They could be saying whatever age they are, a young age to build that relationship, and then the person goes out there and finds out they're not. And Russ, you made a good point, because I think the label of runaway is also a protection for the predator, because when you run away, you're not given those same levels of protection. But the question is, it's not that they're running away from something, but why are we not asking what they're running towards? You've seen it with Celeste Rivas Hernandez. You see it with the Haley Busby case, especially because she looks like she runs away around the 5th or the 6th of January. And then on the 20th or the 21st, I think like around 15 days later, they decide to, make her an endangered teen, because they believe that she was chatting with somebody through this Sessions chat, and then it heightens the alert. So having said that, I think only because you never really know if the teen is really running away, or being lured, I think the universal precaution could lean more towards maybe they're being lured, because if the child is running away, what's the first question we all should be asking is, what are they running towards? I mean, do we really have a child that's running into the night towards nothing? Or nowadays, could we probably say most likely the child is running towards something? And even if it is a child who runs away a lot, they must feel comfortable to run away because maybe someone on the other side is taking care of them. That runaway label, Russ, I think this is what I was thinking in my last video. If the child gets listed as a runaway, it benefits the predator because they don't get those alerts right away, as opposed to them going to a park and taking somebody. The Amber Alerts, the abduction, all resources are put right into play almost immediately. But when the child runs away, if the predator can manufacture a runaway, it gives them time. Is that scary?
Yeah, I think that when you look at, the runaway situation in its totality, that there is a case to be made for, departments, not having the resources to deal with it. I think, though, when you look at it from the perspective of what kind of a filter are we going to put on this to be able to decide whether that individual that they're running towards, as you put it, is someone that's predatory in nature. So I think that a couple of things here come into play. When this person, has had no prior actual interactions with the child, because that's what she is, and when they've used this type of app in order to, try and do counter forensics towards being detected, I think that is a filter that's useful with regards to, putting them in a separate category. And I think in this case, what we've seen is that separate category came along, maybe not too late, but late enough that it really changes the calculus of the whole investigation. That calculus being that this person young child, as it were, is actually, at significant risk. And so that's, that's something that I think these law enforcement departments have to look at. Excuse me. Now, on the bright side, it now appears that the Attorney General of Ohio has placed her on its page and has described her in exactly those circumstances that she's at extreme risk. And so I hope that that's going to bear fruit for the family. And I hope that, that actually leads them toward a resolution of this, whatever the case is. I think that the best thing, that I personally hope for at this point is that it is just a case of runaway. But I would not want to be a father in that position and just simply not knowing, especially with what recently happened, in that same area in Indiana with the Busby case.
Hey, you made a good point. So where does who put, did the Attorney General put it up that she's an extreme risk?
The Attorney General of Ohio has now listed her on its page. And so to me, that was a hopeful sign that they're going to get more law enforcement involved, and that maybe this will be taken over, hopefully by higher up law enforcement, maybe even the FBI. But I think at this point,
because of the possible grooming for the feds, right? Is that what you mean?
I think that more likely. I can't speak for the feds, obviously, but what I do think is I think the fact that the Sessions Act was used in this case and the Sessions Act was used in the Busby case, that there may be a strong component of at least realizing that perhaps this was an abduction. Now, at which point the FBI would actually become involved, I mean, who can say exactly? But I think that that's a strong leading indicator that maybe something like that is going on in this case. The fact that the Attorney General of Ohio chose to do this may also spur some other law enforcement agencies to get involved. And I think that hopefully that's exactly where this is leading. I want these people to get a resolution, as quickly as possible, and obviously, for the positive side of that.
Well, that's a good point. Russ, I think I like what you mentioned before about when you're looking at the video and you see the young girl, she's got a backpack on, so clearly on the surface, she does look like she could be running away. And you know what's funny? If I was an officer, I'm not saying this is the case, but hypothetical. This is just hypothetical, not reflecting any work that's being done here, because obviously the family said the police is doing a very good job. But hypothetically, just for maybe other cases that would see a video like this, some may look at it and say, well, clearly she's a runaway. I'm good. I did my part. This video shows she's a runaway. Backpack, everything's prepared. We'll label her a runaway. I think the next question that really should be coming to our heads is not so much looking to close off that video as a runaway, but I think we should start asking that next question of where she's running to, because I think that's what ups the ante. And I noticed you said the AG, so it says she's not officially labeled extreme risk in public documents, but she's being treated as a high risk or endangered missing teen in practice. So Coleraine Township Police initially opened it as a missing runaway juvenile. You saw the same thing in the Haley Busby case. Missing juvenile case in their update, which is how it's coded administratively. So police know she's in real danger, not just mad at her parents or staying with a friend. The case is supposed to be treated urgently inside the department. More officers, faster canvassing, quicker attempts to get phone app records, more attention from supervisors. They can use she is endangered, high risk to justify emergency requests to phone companies and other services for limited data while they work on full warrants. It still does not automatically give them an Amber Alert or every federal resource. They're still stuck inside the usual Amber criteria, which is clear abduction, suspect, vehicle details, etc. So that's where I feel it's important to get the Bo Bo Busby's movement, that pink alert, that Haley alert, because even though this child appears to be running away and is could be the product of grooming, she is in serious danger too. No different than a child being abducted at a park. Correct, Russ? She's in high risk danger. Deserves those resources.
I would say yes until proven otherwise.
Until proven otherwise.
So there's a lot of things that I think that parents should be aware of. Absolute forbidding youths, for lack of a better term, to have all of these different apps on their phone, Session, Signal, Wicker, Telegram, Snapchat, all of those have the potential for predators using them to groom. And so those kind of things, like on gaming platforms, Discord and other ones like that, they're not just gaming apps. These are places where predators are lured to because it gives them a chance to talk to the people that they want to groom in a relatively anonymous way. So being able to, lock down your child's online presence, let's put it that way, is a big deal. And so being able to have some type of software on there that knows when they're downloading Discord, when they're downloading Session, when they're downloading Wicker, or any of those other things is highly helpful, because you got to understand is they probably don't necessarily know of those particular pieces of software themselves. What they know is this person is saying, hey, let's move this over to a more private type of chat. And then that person can send them a link to download that. And that's at the point at which things start to become dangerous. Being able to talk to your kids openly, being able to inform them of how a predator acts, what they say, what they do. And we don't know at this point. Obviously, this is just speculation, but I point back to what I said before about the person allegedly being 16 years old. There's no reason at this point to expect that that person is actually 16 years old. Now, I hope that that turns out to, in fact, be the case, because the chances of her coming through this alive are greatly magnified by that. But all she had to go on was his say-so. And I think that that's what parents should focus on, is that a child is being told one thing, largely with respect to their parents. They accept things as face value, and face value is not the way things work in the real world.
Yeah, and Russ, you know what? These apps operate in secret. That's what they known for. That's what they know gets people's interest. That's their money. So when I saw how Sessions operates, and guys, watch my other video, because I showed a video from that, just about 14 minutes of a video that was shown in that other video. So I don't want to revisit it now, but I do want to mention the parents may not even know that app even exists, may not know even if it exists, if it's being utilized by my child, because the child has a way to remove it from their phone and then do a recovery in a private email to get it back. It operates on this secrecy that even I like, and I'm all right, tech savvy, but they're going to learn it a lot quicker. Plus, they're being groomed by an expert. So having said that, the child has my daughter could probably do things on the iPad that I can. And now she's being groomed by a professional who makes it their business to know how these apps work, because it's their survival. It's scary, because the technology is built on that secrecy. And the more that as a parent can discover how to get around that secrecy, then they put out another update. It's built to not be found and not be discovered. That's why, like, this to me is the scariest thing. And it's kind of like what the title of the show is about, is that, you want to protect your child, but the technology to put them in harm's way is going a lot faster than our ability to protect them. I no longer see parents at 100% at fault because yes, you got to control your child, watch their access. I get it, but you can't see them 24 hours a day. I get it, especially as they start to get a little older, you start giving them a little trust. The sad thing is sometimes, and this is scary to say, I'm not going to be able to always protect my child from the bad choices that they're going to make. I'm just hoping that the choices aren't that bad to the point we can't recover from it. The scariest thing here right now is they're going to make bad choices and then the predator exploits it.
Yeah, absolutely. There is software available to parents. I would say that there's a lot of these things that the parental control apps can detect. App installations. When a new app is downloaded, most platforms like Google Family Link, there's one, I don't know exactly how it's pronounced, Custodio and Bark, will alert parents and log the install. So you can know whatever the child actually installs on that phone or device. A lot of them also have, how long each app is open, what time of day and the frequency of use. Platforms can scan like iMessage and Snapchat and Instagram DMs and others for keywords tied to grooming and other predatory behavior. I think they all probably have location tracking. They'll have browser history, websites visited, searches made, contacts and call logs, who the child is communicating with on standard calls and SMS, and photos and videos. And then you can also flag certain things within that little subcategory, like the images and files and that kind of thing. Parental software cannot do things like end-to-end encrypted chats. So that's where Sessions and Snapchat, Wicker, and some of those other ones come in. But they can certainly tell if they've been downloaded in the initial report that it generates back to the parents. So parents, if you find that, that's the point at which to absolutely get involved. Take that phone away and say, hey, this is really, really dangerous, but you should have already had this particular conversation with your children long before that happens. There's these, what they call ephemeral self-deleting messages. They can't store or track that, but you can still know if the app is on there that does these things. Side-loaded apps, those are apps that are installed outside the official App Store or Google Play. And those are things that are monitored or can't be monitored by knowing what happens from those two particular sources. So you have those two particular sources that can actually track that. But unfortunately, if they go to some kind of, third-party download site, then that's off the table. And then another thing to really be on the lookout is VPNs, the virtual private networks. Those are ways to get around being actually tracked. If those are in use, that's an absolute no-no. You can't afford to let them get so far down that track that they're using these virtual private networks, because it masks everything, not just what the child is doing, more importantly, what that predator or potential predator is doing.
Yeah, and guys, even on the more practical side, no using the phone late at night in the bedroom. The phone stays with the parents. You want to use your phone, you use it in the common area. Using it where we all can watch it, but no, take the phone out of their bedroom, from their bedroom at night. I mean, a simple thing like that could be helpful. They want to use the phone. They use the phone when you're around them. I think it's a great idea because I heard that recommended where the child does not get the phone at night. You know, the phone stays with us in the bedroom and they can get it back in the morning. I mean, obviously that's part of, you still got to get involved with knowing what the apps are that are getting put into your or into the child's phone. Now, so Bo Busby, his daughter, unfortunately, what is it?
I was going to say, can I, if I could just say one more thing. The true answer about this is that kind of parental software, it can create a wall, or I should say, it can create a window, right, for parents to be able to kind of get an idea what's going, but it's not a wall. It's not an absolute barrier. It can show you red flags. You know, it can prompt conversations, but a determined predator is going to be able to get around that. Because what they can do is they can brainwash that young individual and get them to go the long route, which is, you know, downloading software from a third party, which is not Google Play and not Apple iStore. And it creates a barrier toward parents being able to actually know what's going on. So in and of themselves, it's not a solution. The total solution comes with putting all of those things in, and then beyond that, being able to have the conversations and being able to understand what's going on with your child.
Yeah, and I want to add something. So for Madison, looks like she left around 4 p.m. on a Friday, normal day, say she was going to go to a friend's house. I mean, that could have been an effort to not want to tell the family the truth because they would question her if she was saying where she was really going. I'm meeting with somebody who claims to be 16 or 18 that I met online. Obviously, that's a big red flag. So she doesn't go to my friend's house, and she lies knowingly. But then even with Haley, who wasn't a problem child, she left in the morning. I think it was 3 a.m. or something, if I remember, very early in the morning. And again, it doesn't mean that they weren't going to return. It's just that they didn't want to get caught. So most of the time, I mean, the scariest thing I think of here is if the child doesn't have a history of running away, most likely they're either lying or leaving at a time where they won't get caught, but they're planning on coming back because they don't have a history of just leaving for good. That's the scary part. It's not something that they're used to doing. So they're planning on maybe testing the boundary, but hoping to come back. You know, like in this case, she goes at 4 p.m. She didn't say, I'm going to meet you at 3 a.m. She went at a normal time, which wouldn't be a red flag for her parents. And then the scary thing is she was probably expecting, my thought is, this is the scary part, is that she was planning on coming home. And therefore, the parents wouldn't know any better that she was with somebody through that normal time where she would have been with her friend. Haley, maybe the same thing. I go out in the middle of the night. No one knows I'm gone. You drop me off in the morning. You know, and no one ever knows where I've been. And I only say that because if you go in context, they don't have the history of running away. So I don't see them, you know, all of a sudden going from never running away to running away and never wanting to come back. I'm not saying it can't happen. You know, there'll always be outliers, but I mean, I think these are kids that are still testing the boundary. Celeste Rivas Hernandez did that a few times before she disappeared for a longer duration because they're testing the boundaries to see if, you know, can I do it for a few hours? Oh, that wasn't that bad. Maybe I'll do it for a night. You know, next thing you know, I'll do it a little longer term. So my thing here, Russ, is that, you know, again, nothing's 100%. But the scary thing here is I think that she chose 4 p.m. because it's a time she would normally be with her friend, as her parents thought. And I honestly think the scary thing is that she would have probably wanted to come back around a time where her parents would have thought, you know, okay, she was just with a friend. But having said that, she also had her backpack. But she would have left her house. I mean, that's another thing. Did she leave? Was that like her purse? Did she leave with a backpack all the time? Because remember, Russ, they're living at a long-term hotel. So I don't know if walking around with a backpack for her is normal. You know, I mean, she's a school kid. I had something here too, Russ. But what do you think about that? What I just said? I mean, do you think they're off that first bat? They're running away long term, or do you think they're doing it in a manner where they don't get caught and they can come back and nobody thinks the wiser?
Yeah, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, you know, teens are prone to pushing boundaries. And when they push a boundary and they find out that it has no consequences whatsoever, then they can push the next boundary and the next boundary until it gets to a point where there is pushback. And so this is one of those situations. And, you know, yeah, I think you talk about it in your book about inmate manipulation decoded. And, you know, I'm not saying that she's an inmate, but what I'm saying is that inmates will push boundaries until they get pushback. And this is a desensitization process. And for lack of a better term, I would put this down as, you know, a third party investigation into what you're actually, you know, willing to accept. When you find out what someone is willing to accept, then what you do is you push that boundary a little bit more and you see if they back away from the boundary or if that's a boundary that can't be crossed. And when we get to boundaries like that, and that's exactly what this is, it's a boundary, is we don't know what she may or may not have done before this point. And I hope that, you know, that the family doesn't find out the hard way. I hope that, you know, she's recovered and not any worse for the wear. But this is certainly, you know, a masterclass in showing what's possible with regards to manipulation. She wasn't necessarily manipulating her parents, but certainly that predator, if it is a predator, is getting her to go beyond lines which she normally would not go beyond.
And listen, Russ, if she was thinking about running away long term, you never underestimate the mind of a 16-year-old. Maybe she wouldn't have taken her phone. You know, I you know, knowing that the phone has technology in which I could be fine that goes way beyond just turning it off. You know, maybe, you know, if I'm planning on running away permanently, I leave all that stuff behind. You know, because I don't want to be tracked. And I'm sure, sadly, the predator would probably maybe try to convince her to do that. But then sadly, they said her phone is, scariest part about this whole thing is her phone is completely dead. Now, does this look like somebody you think, Russ, that was running away long term? Watch the picture.
Family says she's seen walking away from the hotel they're living in, Nike backpack on, carrying a grocery bag.
Just seeing her just walk away and disappear just kind of just put some kind of fear in me.
We talked
the grocery
bag. I don't want to. I don't want to put, you know, fear in the parents' hearts, but and you know, I can only do so much from a distance like this. But truly, it appears that she's walking with purpose. There doesn't appear to be, you know, hesitation in her heart. There doesn't appear to be, you know, any indecisiveness. It appears to me that she's moving towards something that she considers better than the situation that she's in. I don't know what you see in her particular gait and in her particular body language, but that's what I see.
No, I see it.
So,
she knows where she's going.
So I think that when I look at that, I think of her as someone who's been gotten over on, and I really hate to use that kind of terminology, but it appears to me that she thinks that she knows where she's going. Unfortunately, my bet is that she doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just wondering if all because we see the backpack, does that mean she's planning to go away long term? You know, that to me is what I don't know. I mean, was she planning on coming back? I don't know what she's taken either. The family would know. So do they think that she took stuff that would mean she wasn't returning, or that the stuff that they took, or the stuff that she took, really doesn't lean into thinking that she was going to be gone for however long? Because again, they thought she was going by her friend's house. Maybe she walks around with this book pack all the time, or this backpack all the time. We don't know what her normal routine is. Remember, they live in this long-term hotel thing, so maybe she's used to just carrying her things from to and fro. Because listen, if I lived at a long-term hotel, I'm not settling in. I'm not putting stuff in dresser drawers or hanging them up in closets, because I'm not expecting to be there that long. So I get used to putting my stuff in my backpack, and everywhere I go, it goes with me. I wanted to talk about. Oh, go ahead, Russ.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, from the outset, when I'm looking at this, you know, being in the type of housing that she was in, obviously that was not anything long term, and you know, not to get down on the family with regards to whatever is happening there, but it certainly appears that that is one more thing that she might look at as she's going away from a potentially, you know, bad situation in her mind. Not saying anything about the family, but the situation in her mind was probably less than optimal. We have no way of knowing what this individual, the Josh or whatever his real name might be, was actually promising her. So, you know, children of her age that are being promised a better life, it's real easy to describe for them what a better life might look like. And I would expect that when this comes out, that's what we're going to see, is some sort of better life was promised. You know, not a room, not to herself at this, you know, temporary housing place that she was at, but something much, much better, probably much more grander. And so for her, how does she assess that? She doesn't really understand the ways of the world. She doesn't really know what she's walking into. She just has, you know, this kind of vague promise that it's better than where she's at now, and based entirely on that, on a set of, you know, potentially falsifiable circumstances, for lack of a better term, that is indeed, as you put it, what she's running toward.
Yeah, and you know what, Russ? It's spot on, because remember, guys, the way of a predator is, once I build the trust and I bring the person towards me, I am going to try to build some isolation, and I'm probably going to do that by building a divide, you know, between her and her family. So yes, the father says there's a great relationship, and there could be, but with that said, I'm an expert predator. You know, I can convince that child to think anything, because I can influence them. And then again, the isolation is key for me, because then it helps me from, as a predator, to avoid counter influence on my target. So I get the child to trust me. They come closer to me. I isolate them. And like Russ said, I'm more experienced. I make you think you're making the choices on influence, but you're not. I'm, of course, heavily influencing that. And then I anchor that with that divide. And the divide makes it easier now for me to pull you away. And the unique thing about these predators is they know how to connect from that child's perspective. That is what they do the best. They find out where that child is vulnerable. I mean, you figure this child here could have concerns. I'm not passing judgment, but you know, maybe there's concerns that you're having at home. You know, the family is at a long stay hotel, so maybe there is something going on, and they know how to communicate to that child and build some BS support system for them. And that's why the question is, you know, she wasn't running away; she was running towards something. And what fueled her was whatever it was that he was able to do, or whatever whoever the predators, whatever they're able to do to get the trust, the isolation, and then ultimately, most of the time, in my opinion, when that child decides to uproot themselves and run towards whoever this groomer is, it's because at that point the groomer has put themselves as like Russ said, it's better in comparison. They basically become the good guy, and everything else around them is the bad guy, because she made a choice, right? If you make a choice to run towards something, you're making a choice to run away from something. And I think that they solidify that path.
And if I might just say, is the predator does not have to be all that skilled. I would say this to parents is, if we assume that this is a predator that she made contact with, she has given him all of the information that he needs to be able to do what he's done. And so if he's been given everything he needs to do what he's done, that just goes to show that she was never at any point probably cognizant of what was going on. And when you read it like that, you know that is what a teen girl, or a teen boy for that matter, is going to do, is going to talk about all of the things that are bad in their life with no recognition for the stuff that's good. I look at that father and I see someone who is struggling, but at the same time is trying in some way, even if he's falling short, trying to give his daughter a better life, a better outcome. And so what a predator does is he identifies what the weakness is, and then he exploits it, and then he turns it into something that for him is a win. And so, and unfortunately, I see a lot of routes that predator may have gone down in order to be able to manipulate her into the position that she was manipulated into, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And guys, listen, no different than a predator at a park looking for different kids and trying to find the one that may not have a parent watching them at that moment. They see the same vulnerabilities, just on a bigger scale when it comes to social media and now the gaming platforms turning into the private chats. But the scariest thing is they may go for 100 children, but after they go through it, maybe only one messages them back. And then that becomes who they're going after. That becomes their target. That becomes their focus at that point. And it's true. Like if you're a predator and you're at a park, you're looking for a kid that's vulnerable, and vulnerability would be also the environment. What in the environment is going to be an obstacle to what I got to do, or what in the environment is going to help me get it done. I got parents that are not watching their kids. Maybe a single mom is flirting with a single dad. I know exactly in that park which kid belongs to which parent. That's what they do. They watch and they observe everything. And now the scary thing is when they go to an environment like this, where there is no guardianship, it's just them and that child. And then once they get that child into that private chat, that's the vulnerable child. That child is the one that's ideal for them. Most of the children, for the most part, we would like to think, it never gets to the private messages, because hopefully they know better. Because you could see it, you could see some of the kids online. How old are you, dude? You're like 39. Get off here. Some of these kids are smart and they protect each other. Some will say, that guy, Tier Talk 123, that's a 35-year-old man. Get him out. And no matter what, they keep track. They do report. They do sometimes protect each other. But sadly, there are some where they're not as strong. And what that predator does is they remove them from that gaming platform immediately. and they connect with that kid on a private chat form and here chat spot. And here's the scariest thing, as I said, once that child goes from that gaming and they say that first message on that private chat, hi, it's gamer such and such, and that groomer messages back, it's game. It's game. How scary is that, Russ? It's game.
Yeah, this would be what I would call casting a wide net. If we were to break this down into a, kind of a fishing analogy, is they throw the net out as far as they can, as wide as they can, and as often as they can. And in the course of doing that, maybe they miss almost every fish that's out there. But that one fish, in that one part, of a particular, pond or a lake or whatever you want to call it, decides to, head toward the middle of that net. And then that's the one that they're able to manipulate further. The manipulation happens with a lot of different fish out there. But it's the one that they're able to, get into the center of that net that is the one then that they spend time on.
Yeah, guys, I just want to go over a couple more things before we wrap it up. So Haley's Law of the Pink Alert is supposed to complement what Amber Law may not be doing since the advancements in technology. So you want to create a new Pink Alert. This is from Bo Busby, category for missing children and vulnerable people when there are credible and risk indicators. So you got grooming, suspicious online contact, unexplained disappearance, even if Amber Silver criteria are not met. Allow alerts when a child is high risk missing, for example, online luring, encrypted app contact, that's key. Living with an older online friend without having to prove a classic abduction or have a vehicle plate. Let alerts be geotagged, only effective cities or counties to reduce alert fatigue, but still mobilize the local public fast. Build an online portal tied to pink alerts where the public can see more info and upload tips, photos, or videos directly to investigators. Limit runaway labels. Police could only classify a child as a runaway in narrow situations. For example, known to be at a nearby friend and refusing to come home. So cases like Haley's, Busby, and maybe in this case, can't be downplayed earlier. I think runaway is a label that should be proven first. I think universal precaution should be, unless you know it's a runaway, why not err on caution and not convenience? Why not err on the fact that the child's in danger? Because even if they're young, they're still making bad choices. How do you say, oh, well, she's 15, she ran away. At 15, she's responsible for all her choices. Listen, you got 15-year-old kids that are murderers that people are quick to say, oh, they're kids. They don't think any better. Yet, when they're 15 years old and they decide to run away, we give them the full responsibility of that. No, I think you should actually shift that. And unless that can be proven, the universal precaution should be in play. Don't label her a runaway. It should be automatically lured or groomed until you could prove otherwise. And then you got expand predator grooming awareness education in schools and communities so kids and parents can recognize online luring patterns sooner, and give law enforcement more discretion to issue alerts early when something feels wrong instead of being boxed in by rigid checklists. Now, Russ, I think that's great with the advancement of technology. I mean, I do think it would require maybe a separate alert if you can't change Amber as much. This is definitely something that I think should be in effect. When he wrote this, I mean, he covered, I think, everything from preventive to reactionary, especially with those encrypted apps. I mean, what's your thoughts? I mean, that's definitely something heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that the correct filter has yet to be built. I know that I've spoke to some of that here with regards to especially those type of apps, towards especially not knowing for sure who the other individual is on the other end of the line. So I think that those things should be built out. The part that would concern me a little bit is the amount of resources that are spent. But I think that those with a really well-built filter could certainly be of use. And I think that, there's just kind of a malaise with regards towards, trying to, investigate what may or may not be a runaway situation. So I think that what I would like to see is I would like to see a lot of effort being put in to build in those filters so that we end up getting the right check boxes on the other end of the form that they're filling out there. I would have liked to have seen law enforcement act with a little bit more alacrity with regards to this particular situation. They didn't know who was on the other end of the line. And when you don't know who is on the other end of that line, it should raise huge red flags. Well, at least let's run this out. Let's see who she was talking to. Now, I know that some of these apps are really restricted with regards to, what you can find out. I want to say, FBI has their Cellbrite technology, but that requires the actual physical presence of the phone being within their custody and able to, in order to be able to assess that. And so in this case, her phone is missing. And with her phone missing and the decentralization of the sessions technology, if we want to call it that, is of peak concern. If her phone had been left behind and they were actually able to, find out who this Joshua, 16 years old or 18 years old or whatever he was, and we knew for a fact that, hey, it was a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old, we might put less resources toward that. But the fact of the matter is they don't know, and as a matter of fact, they don't even have any idea at this point. So I hope that at some point the technology catches up with the FBI and, more importantly, lower level law enforcement organizations, because I think that, that would go a lot towards being able to get a better resolution for families that where it is just, a so-called runaway situation. In this situation, it certainly appears to be much more, and I truly hope that I'm absolutely wrong.
Yeah, and guys, by the way, before we come to a close, they are expanding the Amber. At least it's the first piece of Haley's Law. Amendment to House Bill 1303, expanding the definition of a missing child to include high-risk missing persons, giving police more discretion to issue alerts when danger is clear, but isn't a textbook abduction. That Amber expansion amendment already passed the Senate committee unanimously, which lawmakers and Bo Busby's family are treating as an early win. But then you got
I was going to say, is that in Indiana or Ohio?
This would be in Indiana because Haley Busby was Fisher, Indiana, then went to Ohio. But the case does connect because he brought her into Ohio.
Right. And that's what makes that one a federal case, at least so far.
Yeah. And then Pink Alert plus full Haley's Law, which is what he wants to go for. That's the long-term push. So he wants to go beyond the expansion. Is Bo Busby and family are still pushing for a separate Pink Alert system plus mandated grooming, online predator education in schools. And this is the broader Haley's Law package. Lawmakers have not created a standalone Pink Alert yet. Instead, they're using the Amber expansion this session and signaling that Pink Alert full Haley's Law will likely be studied and built over the next year. Bills advancing that would require, so social media, and this is all tied to the Haley's case, bills advancing that would require parental consent to minors 17 and under to create social media accounts in Indiana. These are explicitly linked to Haley's case in hearings and coverage, and broader child safety packages under discussion. So online grooming, education in schools, stronger rules for platforms around minors, and using Haley's case as the driver. The if you want to contrast real quick the limitation of Amber and then what Haley's Law would bring in, I mean, without breaking everything down here, The big thing is Amber now is built for the stranger in a car scenario, needs proof of abduction and a plate description before it turns on a big alarm system. The Haley's Law, the pink alert, will be designed for the grooming encrypted app era. Let police call a high-risk tech-driven disappearance what it is and alert the public before there's a body or a confession. The sad, you know what, Russ, when Amber was put, you didn't really have these, well, I'm sure it was happening, but wasn't as prevalent, the grooming and now the use of social media, the encrypted apps. So it makes sense to evolve into another alert because it is a different ball game. I don't even think, think about it, Russ. If I was a predator, why am I going to abduct somebody from a park and put all those eyes on me when I could just groom them and get myself a bit of a window? It just, why not? Plus, and here's the scariest part. Why do I have to go to the child when I could just get the child to come to me? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I look at this and when I was researching it for this show, one of the ideas, that I was thinking of is why not have phones? If a parent is going to do this, why not have phones that are dedicated for, let's say, 18 and below, that have special safeguards built in, not just, any old phone, but this particular type of phone where that type of safeguard is already built in and can automatically notify parents about all kinds of things, and that would be resistant toward, placing something like Sessions on it, that would be resistant toward placing WCRX on it, that would be resistant towards placing, what's the other one, Snapchat, and all of the other ones, so that parents could have some sense of there's only so much that can be done with this phone. And, I ran that through some AI sources in order to do that. And apparently this is actually something that's on the horizon. And I think that that would be something that these phone companies could actually market towards, that would save everything, in the cloud. And maybe, and not that I don't want parents to do their job, because ultimately this is a parenting, thing that must happen. But they could at least, know that, hey, the phone at least is safe. And so when I ran it through my AI and tried to see what was going on, there was this idea about, dedicated safe phones. And I think that there's already a few things out there on the market. There's something called the Gab Phone 4 Pro, and the Bark phone for like older teens and things like that. But if you don't know what the landscape looks like out there, at least take and Google some of these terms and try and learn what's actually available. The things that AI brought to my attention was something called Pinwheel, that's for like contact control, TrueMe, and that's like a transparency thing for parents. And then there's like this Guardian and some other things. And so there are some alternatives out there that are better than just your basic standard implemented thing. And so it's kind of like, I would say, like a critical gap that these phones now are trying to bridge. And this was just out of my own mind, my own curiosity, and kind of my own creativity. And sure enough, there's actually some of these things out there. If you're worried about your child, research some of these things, but don't think that that takes the place of parenting.
Yeah, I'll tell you something, Russ. Nowadays, parenting's getting harder and harder. With the use of screen time. Back in the day, we all sat in the living room, watched the same TV. Now everybody has their own independent lives at age 9, even younger. And the scary thing is these apps that are out there. I wish you could have an app for parents to go against these apps, because they keep on evolving. But what's being done for the good guys, let's say? I mean, what are the apps for parents that are literally built to counter apps like Snapchat and Sessions? I mean, you know what? It's hard because the kids are very familiar with the technology. They're being introduced to how to maneuver through an expert predator, and it's tough. The family is already going in with a serious disadvantage. So you're right. I mean, you could try your best, sadly, to be ahead of all the technology, but the more you know, the more they get better. You know, that's the scary thing. You know, the more I start attacking the routes that I know are the most obvious, they're going to make routes that are less obvious. It's no different than working in the prison system. I know contraband's coming in this way, but before I attack that, let me make sure I can close off every other possible route, because, you know, the enemy you know versus the enemy you don't know. I find out that I'm able to see Sessions. They're doing these things in this secret fashion, and I'm going to shut that down. I shut it down. Then they open up another path that, you know, is 5 layers. It's like an onion, you know, 5 levels deep, 5 layers deep. Hey, Russ, you have anything you'd like to say in closing?
Yeah, this has been a really sobering discussion for me. I hope that maybe some of the information that we covered out there might somehow, and we may never know this, maybe somehow we might have even saved a life tonight. So, you know, parents, be on your guard. Look into some of these things that we've pointed to here, and, you know, take it under advisement and do with what you will. But realize the stakes are not low. The stakes are that of the lives of your children, and, you know, really take it to heart.
And I'll tell you something, just my final assessment. You know, you watch this case, you watch the Haley Busby case, breaks your heart, because you see things that could have been prevented. Now you have, after Haley Busby, now you have this case, Madison Fields, and you want to get ahead of it. But she left on February 13th. We're 7 days in. 7 days in. You know, and I'm just tired of looking backwards, knowing all the things you could have done, and still not doing it. I hope the Bo Busby thing passes. I hope that the people watching this, they're from Ohio, they start doing the same thing, or start writing to Bo. Hey, how do you get that stuff here? Can we, at least in the meantime, let's expand our Amber laws. But let's save a life. I want this girl to come home, and then we can all do a video with the family, with them holding their daughter, and just finally have a happy ending to these stories that we put out there. We need a happy ending. We need a win. We need a win. I don't want to have a channel of drama and all this other shit. I want to win. I want to bring somebody home. Russ wants to bring somebody home. Let's bring somebody home. All right, guys, stay safe.